All right, welcome back. We've got a NVDA update. I've made videos on NVIDIA in the past on what I'm doing by selling options, selling puts to get assigned. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We do have their earnings coming up, but I want to do a quick revisit on the company and where we've come from, where we are, and just get prepared for their earnings coming up in a few weeks. So when we zoom out a little bit here on the chart, NVIDIA's been an unbelievable story. Their earnings have just grown drastically, and that is reflected in the stock price. We've gone from $10 at its low in what is this, 2022, to all the way to 140. And at one point, NVIDIA was the largest company in the world. Its valuation currently is $2.5 trillion, which is just unbelievable. And they've been executing as a business, and they are the backbone to this AI craze. Now, what's interesting is we're seeing some of the hype be deflated from the AI bubble. We've seen companies like NVIDIA, which is down 30% from its peak. We've seen the SMH, which is the semiconductor ETF, which is also down 20 to 30%. When we look at some of the other big semiconductor companies, Supermicro was a small cap. It grew to a large cap during this whole bubble, AI bubble or AI run up, whatever you want to call it. Supermicro has been cut in half. And let's see here, we've got AMD was 240 or 230 at its peak, and now it's 130, so it's down almost $100 per share. Let's see here, Broadcom as well is down about 20% from its peak. So we're seeing some of these companies get sold off, some people taking profits, and NVIDIA is no different. I did listen to some of AMD's earnings call, and it sounded pretty good. Their numbers were good, their guidance was good. And NVIDIA has their earnings coming up on August 28th. And from what I've heard from their biggest customers, the Amazons, the Teslas, the Metas, the Microsofts, they're all the Googles. They're all continuing to spend on the cloud and to build out their AI infrastructure, and they had no signs of slowing down. Now, these companies have been spending hundreds of billions of dollars on this build out, and they have not been getting any real substantial revenue in return, and the market is not liking that. So I think that's why you're seeing some of these chip companies begin to sell off, because people are rightfully so questioning how sustainable is this for Amazon to be spending 50 billion a quarter on their AI build out when they're not getting any revenue in return. Same thing with Microsoft, all the companies, right? Meta's spending an unbelievable amount of money on their AI build out. And what revenue do they have to show for it? How are you going to monetize that? And listening to Meta's earnings call, it was pretty interesting because they said, hey, look, we're going to be upfront with you. We're not getting any revenue now, and it may take a little bit until we really see some substantial return on our investment. But that's the life cycle of their businesses that they do. They lost a lot of money on Instagram for a long time. They lost a lot of money on Facebook for a long time. And now those are just cash cows. So they have a long-term view on this. And it's no different than their other businesses where they're going to invest heavily in the short term, but they see the long-term payoff being exponential compared to the spin that they're making right now. So all these companies are saying the same thing. They would rather overbuild than underbuild in this space. And AI does seem like it has the capability of just being a total game changer, but we just really haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen how these companies are going to monetize it. ChatGPT is great, but realistically, how long can they keep up a $20 subscription for that when everyone and their mom's going to have their own large language learning model? And so that fee is going to get compressed down. Just imagine if Google charged $20 to use Google search. Eventually that fee goes away because everyone has a browser. There's Firefox, there's Yahoo, there's whatever. So that will be interesting to see what other ways they monetize AI and how soon that can happen. So that's where you're seeing some of this deflation in the AI bubble start to occur. Now, NVIDIA is a little different than a lot of these companies because they have just been on such a substantial tear. If we look at their Q1 earnings, 26 billion in revenue, up 20% quarter over quarter, and $15 billion profit margin, or net profit for a 60% profit margin. Just unbelievable, and you can see most of that is all the data center. But you don't see a lot of companies with this high of profit margin, and again, their growth right here. So it just the people are questioning how sustainable is this, and rightfully so. And we'll have to wait and see. Let's see, nothing else to see here. So with their earnings coming up, with the stock being down a little bit, the question is now a good time to buy? For me, I have not purchased any shares. I would like to own NVIDIA, but I'd like to own it at the right price. And we've talked about selling puts on NVIDIA, and that's what I continue to do. And it's been a good strategy for me. The big downside on this strategy is the stock just collapsing, and then I get assigned shares at $100 when the stock craters to 70. That's the big gamble I'm taking here, is if the stock were to miss on earnings or have a horrible guide, I'm going to have to buy shares at whatever my strike price is, even if the stock is much lower than that. But this is just getting a starter position for me. So I have puts at 100, I have puts at $90, and these are across different accounts. But NVIDIA is a long-term hold that I would like to have, but I want to get paid to get into my position. And because of the uncertainty, because of everything we just talked about, it wouldn't surprise me if NVIDIA goes to 140 or if it goes to 70. Either way, I have no clue how the market's going to react. But I don't mind getting some shares at 100, at 90, and then let's see how the earnings go, and maybe down in the 70s. Who knows? But these options are pretty juicy right now. So for me, I'm not buying aggressively. I'm just selling puts to get assigned if we can get there. If not, fine. I get to keep the premium. If I do get assigned, great. Now I have a position in a wonderful business. And I will look to see what the price action does and what the earnings are. But I don't think, because I've seen NVIDIA go through some boom and bust in my short time in the market. I remember in the pandemic, I remember sitting on the floor buying some NVIDIA somewhere. I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere on this slide. And I remember looking at my dad like, I can't believe NVIDIA's at this price. I'm going to go buy some right now. And then he just looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. And, I probably sold it not too long after on a bounce. But what I'm looking to do now is to accumulate for the long term. But I've seen NVIDIA go through crazy run-ups and then crazy bear markets. And then to see this recent just unbelievable run-up as well. So again, it wouldn't surprise me if the market gets real negative on NVIDIA and we come back down to the 70s, 50s, 40s. Who knows where the bottom will be, just because it's run up so much. But that's the risk you're taking with this company. But based on what I've heard from all these big cap companies, they're going to continue to spend on the AI infrastructure. And NVIDIA is the number one player there for chips, for the software. And the competition is nowhere near close to NVIDIA. So until the competition catches up and you're seeing NVIDIA's profit margin really get hit, I don't mind buying some shares up here in the hundreds and $90. So I've beaten that dead horse enough here. That's my thoughts on NVIDIA. That's my strategy with them. I'm really excited for their earnings here in a couple of weeks. And until then, I'll just keep selling puts. Now, these puts I am closing when they're up 50%, which you can see this choppiness here. You lay out a put one day, and then it's up 50% the next day. I'm closing it. But then the next day it's down. The stock is down, and you have another opportunity to sell another put, and then it's up. So it's kind of, if you're on top of the ball here, it's a great trading stock right now for these options. But do what's best for you. Know your time frame. Know who you are. Know your purpose when you're selling these options. And read the disclaimer down below. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinions, my thoughts. And that is all I got for this video. We'll be talking more about NVIDIA these next couple of weeks because it's definitely going to be a big mover for the market. So until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace out.